Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode number 305 of the Audible Farm podcast, and this episode is brought to you by the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. The Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association is all about supporting and connecting local artists, musicians, and creators right here in north central Iowa. Head over to fdfineartsassociation.org to find their community calendar packed with upcoming concerts, art shows, theater events, and more. While you're there, check out their podcast, FDT. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. That's the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association, celebrating creativity and community in the Fort Dodge area. This week, I'm sitting down solo. That's just me. I'm going to pontificate about some things. So I've played quite a few shows in my lifetime. Let's say, 500 plus shows in, probably 300 or 400 different venues. Let's say about 300. And in those times, I've had a lot of different people helping me run sound. And I've even run sound myself a few times in some smaller venues, in some easier situations that are not as difficult as like full band type things. So I have done that a little bit in the past, but I want to talk about running sound. So let's cue the music and talk about sound guys and running sound. Cue the music. Let's do it.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
All right, so I'm going to key in on this one and probably, basically I'm just going to go running your own sound versus having somebody there to run sound for you. Those are like the big two, this versus that. There are some caveats to each, but let's kind of just run down, what's it like if you're going to run your own sound. So, the best part about it is it's free. You don't have to pay anyone to run sound. That's good. Otherwise, there is the fact that you have ultimate control. So if you are somebody who's going to go play like a solo show or something like that, like you get to choose how your guitar sounds. You want it to sound like this, guess what? That's what it's going to sound like. You want your monitor to be this loud, guess what? There it is. Your mix is all right there. It's super easy. Maybe you have a smaller system and you can't control all those things, but ultimately you get to decide what everything sounds like, levels of different things. You get to decide. Even if it's super solo and it's just acoustic guitar and singing, you get to decide the juxtaposition between those as well. So the ultimate control is probably the best part. That could also be something that could be unwieldy at times. If you're in a venue you've never been in before, if you have feedback issues, if you start adding multiple people in there, multiple microphones, maybe a drum set, whatever it happens to be, the more elements you add, the more you're going to end up wrestling and fighting with yourself in those capacities. And, I've interviewed a few people that have run sound on this podcast, and it's not an easy task at times. And sometimes it comes down to you kind of just have to be like, hey, if you're in a full band situation, you might have like band members that are kind of like, I don't say like fighting each other with their music, or like my amp's got to be louder than yours, or this is the tone I like. But like there comes a point where sometimes the sound guys might end up just being like, hey, we got to turn it down or put a shield up or something. We got to do something to soak up a little bit of this, because otherwise this is, the majority of what people are going to hear, and there's other situations where, maybe that's not on top of mind, but we're talking about running sound for yourself. And I think in a solo situation, it's optimal. This is why most people just run their own sound. It's not super difficult to run your own sound if you're just a singer-songwriter and all you have is like one speaker and a monitor, and maybe even don't have a monitor. I guess as long as you can hear okay, you're fine. And this is coming from somebody that's played a lot of shows without earplugs and worked near a lot of farm equipment without earplugs over the years. So, protect your ears, but at the same time, I think this is probably the best one you can do if you're just solo. I think sometimes the thing that might be the toughest with this, like let's say, okay, sounds fine, the mix is fine, but the toughest part might also be like you kind of can play your guitar and go out in the crowd and sort of a little bit figure out about how loud it is or whatever, or guesstimate it pretty close. But there's times where you can play some shows where, it's very difficult to see how loud you guys sound out in the crowd while everyone is doing whatever they're doing, because even throughout the night, if the crowd gets bigger or smaller, or people are having a couple drinks, they might get a little louder out there. So you might have to compensate with some of your sound up on stage, but that's where you would turn up the mains a little bit. Maybe you don't know that, there could be people at times where you could be too loud. You go to some smaller venues, places like wineries or coffee shops that might end up, just preferring a quieter sense of music there. So you might be too loud, you might be too quiet, you might not be able to know. Sometimes people will come up and tell you, sometimes the venue owners will come up and tell you. Would you rather be too loud or too quiet fresh out the gate while you're playing music? Let me ask you that. Like, let's say you're going to overshoot or undershoot. You go out, you turn your mains up, they're this loud, you play your first song, the venue owner comes up and you're like, they're going to either tell me it's too loud or too quiet. What would you rather have? Would you rather have them tell you you're too loud or too quiet? I know what I would choose, just based on the fact I feel like I would be embarrassed if I was too loud, just blasting people's eardrums out. But that's just kind of who I am. I am always like quieter in the mix. I prefer to be that way. I go to jam nights, everyone always ends up having to turn my amp up. And I just prefer to be, not that loud, I guess. I trust the sound person, but there's even times where sound people are just like, you got to turn your amp up because everything else on stage is too loud. So we need, and it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's kind of a difficult thing to gauge is how loud are you out there in a full band setting. If you're running your own sound, that's not super easy to tell either. In some sense you can kind of guess again, but might be times where there's a guy up on stage or somebody that just has a mixer or a tablet and they're like, I don't know, I think this is pretty good. Or they go out there and they listen like, sounds great out here. But like, you don't know how it goes as the night progresses. Again, you don't know what the crowd's going to be like. Sometimes the person running sound is not a sound person. Like if you're running your own sound, there's a good chance that you're probably more focused on being a singer-songwriter or a musician in some capacity than you are being a sound person. There are caveats to this. Again, there are some people that are really good sound people that are bassists, in multiple bands, around the area, like Brad, hashtag Bradable Farm. But yeah, I think about that, sometimes you don't have the luxury of having somebody that knows what they're doing super, super well, running the sound. And that's difficult. That can be difficult when you get in a full band setting very, very quickly. And that's usually why most bands have like one person that's kind of their sound person. They kind of know what's going on. They kind of know how all that stuff works. And they're I guess pretty good at it. Let's see. I have something else in here. Yeah, if let's say the other thing is like, I feel like there would be a disconnect if like you and a sound guy or sound person are out there like, and I need more of this, less of this, and you're kind of always giving them the back and forth. Like I was thinking about that with monitors. I need more of this. No, okay, song goes by. No, I need less of this. Song goes by. No, I need more of this. No, and this is after doing this on sound check. I've done this before to people, and it's not ideal to just constantly be like, I need more, I need less, I need more, I need, it just, I don't know. I'm going to get into my opinions on this a little bit into the next one, and maybe this will just perfectly lead into the next thing. But yeah, you can build tensions, I guess, with people, and it's not always ideal to build tensions with people in your band, where I think it's you're paying a sound person to be there to run the sound, where a lot of times people that run sound for bands, if they're doing it just because no one else is hired, they don't usually get paid more to run sound. So I feel like there could be like some tensions that are built, and I'm not trying to like pick on anyone that I know that does that, that does run sound, or anybody I know that is like very meticulous with their, in-ear mixes or their monitor mixes or whatever. It's just, I feel like that would be a difficult thing to do. So sometimes it is beneficial to have somebody running sound for you. And then I guess that leads me into this next thing. So we got running you sound yourself. This could be easy solo. It can get unwieldy at times, especially if you have like a full band and maybe somebody that doesn't know exactly what they're doing. But even then, it's still not always ideal given certain scenarios, et cetera, et cetera. So running sound yourself, solo, perfect. Full band might get a little choppy. So having somebody run sound for you, this we can split into two things. And I know that some people are going to listen to this and they're going to be like, I don't know if I understand that so much, or that sounds like a treat. But in all honesty, like we're going to dig into this. So having somebody run sound for you, I'm going to start off with this one. For the people that are out there that have played the rock shows and all of the venues, all the places where, they're running 2 shows a night, and each show has 5 bands on it, and they're all, everybody's given 40 minutes tops to be on stage or whatever. Those types of shows where you're playing all original rocks and these venues, there used to be a lot of them. They used to exist. They were great. And one of the funnest things about them was there was always shows. You could always see different types of music, different people in there doing different stuff. There'd be 5 o'clock shows. There'd be 9 o'clock shows. And, you'd go in there, it'd be like $5 to get in. It wouldn't even cost that much to go to these shows. And they were fun places. I loved those places. They always had sound people there. And it was amazing. There are times where I've played with bands in this capacity at smaller venues, and you have to run your own sound. There's a little mixer behind you. Again, all these personalities, all this stuff going on, it can get really unwieldy, really, really fast. And it's not always ideal. I kind of just accepted if you were playing in those places, the sound was not going to be the best, and you just kind of had to deal with it. And that's just kind of how it works. But if you're in a place where there's a sound person, at least you have the benefit of having somebody run sound for you. There's somebody somewhere in the building, usually halfway out in the venue somewhere, pushing buttons and twisting knobs and making sure everything sounds good. We're going to check this stage left guitar. Now we're going to check the stage vocal, blah, blah, drums, snare, sound, pop, 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 pop. I can't deal with that, guys. Sound checking drums is probably my least favorite sound. Maybe. No offense to drummers, but yeah, they get everything checked, all the gain levels, everything's set. And then you play and you just trust that it sounds good out there, and it probably does because that's their job, right? This does depend on certain things though. Do you think that the person running sound, this is their only job? Because that's not always the case. Sometimes these people are like, I have a job as an XYZ person at ABC company working in a cubicle, but I also moonlight as a sound person at a rock venue. So you have to mix sound at night, and sometimes it could be a Tuesday night show at 5, and you got to show up and mix sound for it. I get it that this is like a dream for some people and this is what they want to do. But there's also times where it could be work to these people, and maybe they're not putting their best foot forward. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but I've definitely played enough shows at enough venues at enough weird times and weird days of the week, like the Tuesday 5 o'clock show. I'm not even kidding. I've played a lot of them, and it you don't always get somebody's A game, or maybe this is the new person coming in here, or it could just be somebody that kind of knows how to run it and they're just working on it. And as soon as it gets kind of balanced, they're just like, it's good enough, go. That's not always the greatest situation to be in, but at the same time, it's better than a lot of times I can just be like, well, it's out of my hands. And I feel like that's the best thing for me, is if I don't have any control over it, I'm very happy. Once, if you're running it and it's in a band and somebody in the band's running it, I feel like I have to at least be a part of this conversation. But if it's somebody in a venue, it's just like, you're in charge. This is your sound system. You run it. So those types of shows, those types of venues where you go in and there's just like a club and there's a person there and they run sound, those are fine. There are situations that make it different. Weekend show, weeknight show, 5 o'clock show, late show. Is it a big show or is it a small show? Is there a touring band? Is there going to be demand? Was there a lot of ticket sales? Do you like the music that's being played? These are all questions that I would kind of in the back of my mind run while I was thinking about, when I would go to these shows and be like, who's going to run sound? What's it going to be like? And it ultimately, and this is kind of goes back to something I was talking about before, ultimately got me to be very, very, very indifferent to a monitor mix. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, I played at so many places where I couldn't hear anything on stage. The monitor mix is trash. Just even after you hey, can you adjust this? Can you do that? And it's still just like, I don't know. They're just back there acting like they're twisting knobs. Maybe, I don't know. Like, there's so many times I've been places where, like, as soon as you start playing, like, oh, I can't hear anything, and you're playing like fast rock music, and it's just like, well, I know I'm playing the right notes, but I can't hear any of it. So I've gotten very used to not worrying about the monitor mix. And I know people are like, how do you hear yourself? And it's like, I've learned that I can hear the wrong notes really, really well. Even if I can't hear myself, the wrong notes are really easy to hear. They feel weird too when you play wrong notes. So just don't play those notes and you'll be fine. I guess I don't know what else to say, but I've gotten used to playing at enough clubs where maybe they don't even have a monitor, or the monitor mix is whatever's coming out of the mains. You can't, there's no choice. There's a lot of like goofy stuff like that kind of happens at some of these clubs where, like I said, as long as I can like hear something, a little bit of everything, even if it's just all stage noise, I'm fine. I'll be okay. I just need to be able to like keep the beat and possibly hear where somebody is singing. Like, and that's a good gauge of a song, I think. So those are the two things. As long as I can hear a little bit of that, like if I can hear the snare and I can hear some singing, I'm fine, So that's one reason I think, like, in full band settings, if like somebody in the band's running sound, it's just like, what's your monitor sound like? Yeah, good enough. I don't care. I'm not gonna bother you. We're not gonna build tensions with this. Even though, like I said, most situations are fine. Most of the time, there's no problem. It's never going to be a problem. Even if you're just like, I need this up, I need this down, I need more of this, I need less of that. Like every song, whatever. But still, like, I'm just like, it's good enough. I can hear it. It's fine. So that cuts me back into, if I'm going to have that attitude towards running sound, I've got to give a pass to sound people that are running sound on a Tuesday at 5 when it's their hobby and they're getting paid $40 or whatever for the whole night to be there. Like getting paid minimum wage and free drinks or something at a club just to run sound or something. Not that that's what they're getting paid, but on a Tuesday, whatever, I could only assume it's not super, super high pay or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of things there too that are kind of the kickers at these clubs. High attendance, I had kind of mentioned that. Another thing is, like, do they like your music or not? If they like your music, they're probably going to mix you a little bit better, or are you friends with them? Have you ever talked to the sound person? Have you ever said thank you to them? Those kind of things go a long ways. I'm not always one to just go out of my way to just be like, yay, every single time anybody does anything. But if somebody does something well, if we're far enough in here, I damn sure well let them know that I think they did a good job. And I feel like that means more than just saying it every single time. Otherwise, I'll just say something like thank you or something like that, just to show that I'm very appreciative. But at the same time, if it sounded really good, I surely go out of my way to tell somebody it sounds good. And there were people that were my favorites and people that I knew it wasn't always going to be the best. So I just kind of, again, I got very easy going with these club type settings. Or you'd go into a place where they don't even have a sound person and you got to run your own sound in a club. And then it's just like, to me, all bets are off. I'm just like, I don't even care now. I'm leaving this up to somebody else. But there is another situation you could think about here. So you could go to a place where there's a club and somebody's running sound. That's cool. But there are other situations where you can play music and there's people running sound and it's not exactly in a club. So I'm thinking like festivals, large stages for big parties, events where they have hired a sound person and they have hired bands and they have hired a staging crew, and then everything together makes the show. So there's a sound person there, but you have not like you had a whole lot of connection to them at the venue, but like at least the venue sound people, if you played at this venue over and over again, you'd learn these are the 4, 5, 6 people that always run sound here. I know who they are. I've seen them all the time. This person usually does. You start to build friendships with people and at least kind of you just have these kind of, I don't know, they just become part of your community, I guess. But with just some random sound person showing up with a big sound system, sometimes it's like, I got to start over here. I don't know this person. They might not know who the band is. They might not be impressed out the gate, but maybe they will be later. And this is a slightly different situation because these people are usually people that have their own sound systems that cost thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And all these big things where they can run like festivals and town festivals and things like that. These people are probably going to do a good job because they're probably like there for a reason. But at the same time, I've also run into situations where you play at these giant festivals, and let's say you're opening up for a massive headliner. Everyone's there to see the headliner. Like, nobody came to see you play on this stage, even though you are playing on the stage. I mean, I won't say nobody, but because there were people that have come to a lot of these and have been in the front row cheering. But the thousands of people that go to these shows are there for the headliner. All of the energy is put into making sure that the headliner sounds good. And it's not like nobody cares if the opener sounds good. They still make it sound good. Again, sometimes it's like twist, twist, push, push, sounds fine. Are we keying in on every single frequency and adjusting everything? No, but it sounds fine. It's very fine. And that's okay. But there have been times where, like I said, I've gone to places where it's like, well, these mixes you can tell they took a little bit more care of this one than they did of that one. And some of that could also be, stage placement or what kind of stuff you're using. Are you going, direct in with digital or not? Or are there backing tracks? Or has this touring band used this stage, sound promotion company before? Or were they down there earlier in the day having like long discussions with them to get everything mixed? Because that's the thing. That's the thing everyone's there for. And I always, the first time I encountered that, I was very, I don't say like bitter, but it was just kind of like, man, this was my chance. I got to like come up here on a big stage, like a really big stage, and play in front of a lot of people, compared to like a small club on a Tuesday at 5. And it's, I guess like once you put yourself in their shoes and you scope out and you look at everything, you're like, everything sounded fine. It just like wasn't perfect, and I guess everybody always wants everything to be perfect, especially for those types of things. But guess what? It was great. It was great. I don't know. I feel like sometimes in the moment I get a little caught up in how I feel, and then later I kind of look back on it and it's just like, I get why there's more attention paid to the I don't know, there's just money involved in it. That's what it comes down to. So, big shows, it can be a crapshoot. There have been times I've been to big shows where it's like, this is the best I've ever sounded. This is the best this band has ever sounded. Sometimes it's the big system. Sometimes it's whatever. It's just the atmosphere or anything. But like, I don't know. The big shows are super fun to play. And footnote, I'm playing at Crash My Crater this weekend with Jesse Wilson and Scott Kirkhart. Jesse Wilson and Scott Kirkhart will be there playing, and they're bringing myself and Brad Hofing, #Bradable Farm, to the pod or to the show, and that's gonna be great. We've been doing some rehearsals, which is one of the reasons I'm doing a solo episode. I did not record enough ahead of time, but it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. So make sure you go to that. That's this weekend if you're listening the day this comes out. So go to Crash My Crater, check out one of those big stage shows. It's gonna be awesome. Like I said, there's nothing like hearing a big sound system. I like outdoor, the way it sounds outdoors better than I do in arenas most of the time. Also, I think I like going to concerts in arenas more than I like outdoor shows, though, because you can bring like crazy lights and stuff. Anyways, getting off topic. So, yes, you can have somebody run sound for you. They could be at a venue. They could be at a festival. It could be somebody that you can interact with, or possibly somebody that you have no way of knowing who they are, and they're just there, and you got to kind of guess your way through it. So that's one example. Another example is you could just hire a sound person. So there are bands that play shows that are just like, I'm playing here, I'm bringing a sound person, this is how it works. Or people that I play with, people that have their own sound systems, and if they connect everything together in all of their sound system, like all of it, it makes one giant, it's kind of like a megazord of a sound system or whatever, you know? So it makes like a big one. And that's cool because then you can have somebody else run it at these big shows and essentially like not worry about it. It takes all of the bad stuff out of literally everything I said before. It's somebody that knows what they're doing. That's peace of mind. It's the best part ever. The downfall of this is they might not know your system. You might have a system set up that's like, these are the best things. These work the best. I like these. This is how I hook it up. This is how I run it. And they might be like, I actually don't like these. And I would hook them up that way. And I would actually run it like this because they know better because they're a sound person or just from their experience. And it's like, is it really going to matter? Yes, no, whatever. But like, they might not be as, you know, in the know as you might be. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. That could be a benefit to you if they just suggest something and you're like, oh, that's actually a good idea. I will do it that way. So there are benefits and downfalls to that bullet point just by itself. But at the same time, I feel like hiring a sound person overall, generally speaking, is the better way to go. It's going to cost money. It's basically like another person in your band or more, depending on what's going on. Like, again, I've had people from sound that have run sound that have their own sound systems and talked to them and brought them on the podcast. They're there before the band. They're there after the band because they got to be set up and ready for when the band comes in to set up their stuff and then mic them up when they're done and then check everything and then monitor everything during the show. And then when it's over, wait for the band to tear everything down and get off the stage so that they can tear their stuff down and they can go home. So yeah, sound people do cost money and there's good reason for it. So, what if you have a sound person that doesn't know how to run your system or your system's not big enough? Some sound people have their own, what I would call like, they're very large systems. A lot of them I would just call them like mid-level systems. These can do town dances and those types of things. Fill up a giant dance hall with sound, make it full. But they're not like fill an arena type things. But you can hire somebody that has their own system though. They could bring their own system. Might cost you more. They have to haul a trailer, bring all their stuff, again, set it up early, blah, blah, blah. Whereas if you just hire a sound person as essentially part of the band and you set up all your own sound and you say, here's the mixer, you just twist the knobs. It might, be a little bit cheaper. So hiring a sound person, ultimate peace of mind. The best part is somebody's there to monitor everything. They can tell you how loud the mains are. They can tell you whether or not you're loud enough out in the crowd. They can crank it up later in the night as everybody gets a little bit rowdy, things like that. But yeah, they can monitor the speaker level and things like that. It's also nice to have that person there. So like, I don't always have to like turn over to the other guitarist or the bassist or somebody and be like, hey, can you go over to the mixer and turn up my monitor channel 2? Or, I don't have to do any of that stuff. I can just like sound, wave the sound person. Hey, boom, done. Yeah, I guess it'd be easier if the person's on stage with you or on the side of the stage, which usually good sound people are accessible like that. But at the same time, I feel like, again, you don't have that tension. It's like you're getting paid to be here just like I am. Just twist my monitors, man. Then all you have to do is stand there and eat a hoagie, which, rock and roll. But I don't know. The only downfall to that is basically that it costs money. That's the only downfall. I absolutely love having a sound person there. At these clubs, it usually doesn't cost money. They're just part of the club. And at these big venues where you're on giant stages or super huge town festivals and things like that, those are usually provided by the event as well. So you don't really have to pay any money for having a sound person at those types of events. But if you're going to do these things all on your own, yes, you're going to have a sound person there in some capacity or have your own sound and then run it. And then again, you're going to have the unwieldiness of trying to mic and monitor and run sound for a full band and mix it and make it sound good all from the stage, which is not necessarily an easy task. So that's basically all I've got for you. Did I miss anything? What did I forget? I feel like I forgot some really important stuff, but I don't know. Let's kick it over into the outro and we'll finish this episode off. Okay, as episode 305 comes to a close, I do want to say once again, Manson, Iowa, Crash, my creator, That's the event. It's going to be Jesse Wilson and Scott Kirkhart, and they're going to be opening up Crash My Crater. So let's see what we got here. Crash My Crater and Crash My Crater. Oh man, these are some of the old years. Crash My Crater 2026. Boom, baby. All right, let's see here. Aaron Lewis, headliner. Cody Hicks, Scott Kirkhart, Jesse Wilson, Jared Benson. What a lineup. Holy smokes. And not just, obviously Aaron Lewis, rock and roll. Everybody love you some Aaron Lewis. But at the same time, Cody Hicks, Scott Kirkhart, Jesse Wilson, Jared Benson. That's pretty awesome for me. Like, to me, that'd be a good show right there. Just put those four on a stage together. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. It'd be killer songs all night. Even if it's just 4 straight acoustic, solo performances. That would be awesome. But yeah, there are still, I don't know, I guess as of now, tickets available. Maybe double check when you get online. I'm not going to put ticket links. You'll be able to find it. It's going to be real easy. Roughly $40 ticket. Party in Manson. It is this weekend, Saturday, June 27th. Showtime at 5. Ends roughly around midnight. So that's according to what I found online. Be sure to check that out. That's going to be the big thing going on this weekend. That's what we've been rehearsing for. That's what's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to play on stage with Jesse Wilson and Scott Kirkhart. Jared Benson's an absolute killer. Cody Hicks is awesome. And for those of you that are big Aaron Lewis fans, go out and check out Aaron Lewis live. He's going to be right over there. Just in that town right over there, so not too far away. So I hope you guys enjoy that. That's gonna be really awesome. Let's see what else we got. Thank you guys for listening. Thank me for being a guest. You're welcome. And I thank you, Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. Again, I don't say it enough, and I don't thank them enough, even though I thank them every episode, that this podcast wouldn't exist if it weren't for them. It's because of them that this podcast is still going. I help co-host FDT, the podcast of the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association, with Shelly Bodorf. She is the person that is in charge over there. I think executive director might be her name. There's a board as well, nonprofit organization, but it's great. They got their own podcast. She hosts it. She brings me all over the place and just absolutely cultures me about Fort Dodge, the surrounding area, the arts, what goes into creating the arts, etc. And what all is actually art. What is art? Let's pontificate that a little bit. Go check out FDT. Lots of fun episodes. More coming up. I know for a fact there's going to be some good ones in the not so distant future. So be sure to check out FDT. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, just click on the channel link. It's over there. Otherwise, I have links for them down below. Be sure you check out audiblefarm.com. That's new. It's all new. Still working on adding some more stuff to it and whatnot, but audiblefarm.com does exist, and it is brand new, all redesigned. It looks pretty okay, I think. You go over there and tell me what you think. I got a nice little about section and just things about me and what's going on. Oh, actually, there's almost nothing directly about me, but yeah, you can also listen to the podcast there, watch it there. FDT that's there as well. Links to the shop. If you guys want to check out the shop, I kind of revamped the shop a little bit, designed it slightly differently, and kind of matches the website a little bit better. I don't know. All sorts of good stuff happening. You guys should check it out. audiblefarm.com. And while I'm kind of plugging that, make sure you check out kirkhartmusic.com. Let's pull that up. Oh man, that looks so cool. Scott said he needed a new website, and I've known Scott for a while. I said, hey, let me take a crack at it and see what I can do. And shot him a very reasonable price because I was just kind of I don't know, let's see what happens when I get behind the wheel of one of these things. I haven't built a website in 20 years. Let me see what goes on here. I haven't actually spent the time to try to build a website in 20 years. I did Audible Farm's original website, which was absolute trash, but that was basically filling in forms and just importing junk and whatever. But this was one I actually really tried on, and I'm pretty proud of it actually. So yeah, go check out Scott Kirkhart's website, kirkhartmusic.com. I'm sure you can just go back to one of the old Scott Kirkhart episodes, click on it, and scroll down. There's his links if you don't want to hunt for it. But yeah, it was fun, really fun time working on this. And yeah, I don't know, it's definitely opened my eyes to what goes on when you have to build a website. So yeah, really kind of cool stuff. KirkRideMusic.com and FDT. Those are the two things I've been working on kind of in my spare time. I did a while ago ask about if anybody wanted to watch like mini documentaries if I made them. They're still on my mind. I'm still kind of like formulating out how it's going to work. If I make it the way in my brain is imagining it, it's going to take forever. So more news on that some other time. But yeah, that's what I got. Audiblefarm.com. Thank you guys for listening. I'm out of here. Peace.